If you take Carlos de Souza, who is the guy that saw the floundering aircraft crash, there are two elements of his story, which these are elements that have been there since the beginning. This is not an evolution, but there are two elements that I'm not certain that I buy. One, he claims to have picked up some foil-like material, crumpled it, it recovered its shape. Classic, right? Two, his Men in Black encounter at the gas station shortly after visiting the site of the crash. The foil story I'm skeptical of for a few reasons. Firstly, because there's a pretty well-documented provenance of misunderstanding and of outright false claims that led to the association of this memory foil thing with the Roswell incident. Now, the heart of this misunderstanding is Jesse Marcel Sr.'s original testimony about a material that could not be dented or folded or bent or damaged in any way, no matter what kind of force was applied to it. Testimony which in some cases he seems to have derived from Mac Brazel's claims, and in other cases he seems to have offered as though that were his experience with the material. Long story short, I've become pretty well convinced that the idea of this memory foil is fictitious. I've seen the evolution of that idea. I've seen its vigorous use as a reference by people who are known to have fabricated stories about their experience with the Roswell event. And in simple terms, none of the people who could be considered reliable first-hand witnesses to the material ever testified of such a thing about it. Many unreliable claimants and many people that we have reasonable suspicion never actually handled the material. But because of the popularity of this idea of this specific exotic material and its very close association with the most famous, most well-documented UFO event in history, it's the first thing that charlatans reach for in an attempt to legitimize their claims. So I'm always wary of that one, including in Carlos de Souza's story. Why he would bend down to pick up a pretty unremarkable looking shred of material when he is suffocating from exposure to noxious fumes and worried about the safety of potential occupants of the downed vehicle doesn't really make sense to me. But he claims he picked up this foil amid all of this chaos and thought, oh, I'll fold it up and put it in my pocket. And then when he went to slip it in his pocket, it rebounded into its full shape again. It just doesn't track logically for me, and again, this type of claim has a long history of misuse. Additionally, Carlos has over time varied his description of the encounter with the officers at the site of the crash and with the Men in Black at the gas station. The exchange of words and actions in those two scenarios has been given quite differently at different points in time. That said, I think he actually did see the aircraft floundering and potentially even saw it crash, and potentially even went to the site of the crash and interfaced with the military there. I think he's probably an actual witness, but I don't necessarily trust his recounting of the details.